the Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture website with a copy of the slides as well. So if you want to come back and look at it or send it to a friend, it'll be online recorded. My name is Mia Little. I'm subbing today for Shannon Dill. She works for University of Maryland Extension and kind of runs all the Women in Agriculture programs here in Maryland, and also does a lot regionally as well. But she had to be away today, so I'm subbing in. I apologize for any mistakes I make. I work with urban farmers in Baltimore City. So if you have any urban farmer questions, find me later. I'm really delighted today to introduce Michelle Walford. She is a communications specialist at University of Delaware Extension, and she is going to talk with you today about hashtags and using hashtags in social media to market your agricultural work. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle. And
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing from her.
Hello, everyone. And at the end of this, please interrupt with questions. I may not see them as I'm going to go full screen with my presentation, but at the end, hopefully I can do this sort of quick. Sometimes I ramble a little bit, so I'll try to keep it in line, and we'll have enough time for questions. So as Nia said, I'm a communications specialist at the university, and trained as a journalist, and so I adopted social media along with everybody else around the 2010s and into it really, and now it's become a major part of what I do. And one of the questions I get asked quite a lot, especially because one of the things I do is I am trying to advocate for people who are particularly farmers. I have found, and I don't know about you guys, but I have found that people who are connected to agriculture, they like face-to-face. Now, they may use social media, but they prefer face-to-face interactions, and they have a mistrust for social media. I'm like, no, because this is where we need to be, because the conversations that are happening, particularly with new people forming opinions, is on social media. And to be honest, a lot of the conversations are not positive. There's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of strong opinions, and a lot of attacks. So we need to be in the conversations. We need to be telling people what we do and what our value systems are, what our ethics are, and we need to join those conversations. So getting on social media and trying to convince people to get on social media is a strong passion of mine, and I understand all the people who are hesitant about it, particularly stuff that's come out about Facebook. All right, well, that's my soapbox rant, so I'm going to share my screen, and all right, and now you should see my Google Slides, and let me go ahead and present them. And let me go right back. I'm going to unshare my screen a second. I'm just going to turn off my video so I don't have to be distracted with that. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Told you I was informal, present. And so this is about hashtags, holy hashtags. I remember the days when there were rotary phones. I'm old enough, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And we got a new touch-tone phone, and the phone man, this was when a telephone man would come to your house, and we asked him, what is this? What's the star and the number sign on either side of the zero? And he said, oh, that's for something in the future. We're talking early 60s here. So obviously now that sign, that number sign, means a lot of things. We call it a number sign, we call it a pound sign for phones, and we call it a hashtag on the internet. So I wanted to start off with this video. I just thought it was kind of cute. This is from a couple of years ago with Late Night with Jimmy Fallon.
Hey, Justin, what's up? Not much, Jimmy. Hashtag chilling. What's up with you? Been busy working. Hashtag rise and grind. Hashtag is it Friday yet? Hey, check it out. I brought you some cookies. Hashtag homemade. Hashtag oatmeal raisin. Hashtag show me the cookie. Sweet. Hashtag don't mind if I don't. Pretty good. Hashtag getting my cookie on. Hashtag I'm the real cookie monster. Hashtag no. Delicious, right? Hashtag I did it all for the cookie. Hashtag LOL. Hashtag classic. By the way, did you catch last week's episode of Duck Dynasty? Hashtag quack quack. Nah, lately I've mostly been watching Netflix. Hashtag Orange is the New Black. Oh, nice. I've been watching a lot of Barney the Dinosaur. Hashtag purple is the new black. Hashtag I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. Hashtag I'm 38. Hashtag dinosaurs. Hashtag I don't go extinct. Hashtag meteor. Hashtag ice age. Hashtag speaking of ice age, I just watched Ice Age on demand the other day. Hashtag funny. Hashtag Ray Romano. Hashtag Deborah. Deborah. Hey, by the way, Halloween's only like a month away. I know. I mean, do you know where you're going to be at? Hashtag life decisions. Hashtag sexy ghost. I think I'm going to go as a Ninja Turtle. Hashtag gotta be Raphael. Hashtag Leonardo sucks. Hashtag the turtle, not the Italian Renaissance painter. Hashtag Mona Lisa. Hashtag is she smiling? Hashtag speaking of smiling, I just saw my dentist. Hashtag bling. Hashtag dental care. Hashtag cavity free. Hashtag that's how we do. Hashtag we go hard. Hashtag we can't stop. We won't stop. Hashtag we run this. Hashtag two players for life. Hashtag is it worth it? Or let me work. Get. Hashtag put my thing down, flip it, then reverse it. Hashtag is there women in the gang yet? Hashtag is there women in the gang yet? Hey guys. Yeah, what? What's up? Hashtag shut the f up.
All right, so now why can't I avert my site? So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. It was just a good example of what hashtags are, and can you imagine if we had to use hashtags when we're speaking, obviously, and they use them to excess. So we're going to talk about what hashtags are and why should they be used and what platforms, because not every platform is the same. And curating content, this is huge. We're going to talk a lot about that. As understanding what that means throughout your social media use is important. And also there are other kinds of tagging. Handles are the little @ signs, but that's a way of tagging, so that's called, so you need to know how to use that. So this is the definition. It's one. And so basically when you ask somebody, well, when do you use them, how do you use them, it's that number sign or that pound sign used to identify a message on a specific topic. It's a keyword. Essentially, it's just a keyword. So but it's also a tool, and it's more importantly, it's a tool to curate social media conversations. These are some that you might be familiar with. Women in Ag. When there is a Women in Ag conference that we hold every February for the Mid-Atlantic, we will use that hashtag so that everybody else who's at that event will tag that in their conversations, or we hope they will. And that allows the showrunners of the Women in Ag conference to collect those or curate those and pick the best ones. Today we could call this hashtag Wednesday webinar. Most of us are familiar with Throwback Thursday. That's a day where you, on social media, you put an old picture up. That's just one of them. There's also TBT and Throwback. So that's an example of what a hashtag is. A digital tap on the shoulder is when you use the @ sign. That's called just tagging. And we all have them. If you're on Facebook, you actually have a handle. It's usually just, it grabs whatever your page is called. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, you also have them. And so they are preceded by the @ sign. This is very important to use because it lets the user know that you've mentioned them. So this is important to use because we want to thank our partners, our donors, our sponsors. Everybody likes being thanked. Everybody likes being noticed. Normally you get an immediate notification if someone's mentioned you. So this is just good social media practice, whether you're on Facebook, whether you are on Instagram, Twitter, especially those. Tagging people who you've worked with or partnered with is really important. So that's the difference between tagging with a handle and hashtagging, which is isolating a keyword or a phrase. So where are hashtags used? So these are the four that I would say are moderate to strong users. Facebook, it depends. People are starting to see hashtags on Facebook pages now. The reason that you normally see that is because someone has connected one of their other accounts to Facebook, and so they're using the hashtag on Twitter or Instagram, so it populates over onto onto Facebook posts. Generally speaking, Facebook does not use them, but there are reasons where you will want to use a hashtag, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Twitter, most definitely yes. If you are on Twitter, and I hope that you would be, it's one of my favorite platforms, you will not get noticed by people unless you're Kim Kardashian, or unless you're Oreo Cookie or Starbucks or the president, people who are going to follow you no matter what because you're just famous. But if you're not famous, people aren't going to know who you are or what you're talking about if you don't use at least one. You can also you use handles, so you can tag people with handles. You can also repeat on Twitter, and we'll talk about this. It's a good idea to repeat a post several times because the feed is very, very fast. And then we'll talk about retweeting with a quote. Instagram. Love this platform because it's very visual, it's very artistic. It allows you great latitude for explaining things, for extension. It's a great teaching tool, but it's artsy. Completely different people are on it. Sometimes I'm on everything, but definitely this is a younger demographic, a more diverse demographic. So you have old people like me on there too, but you have 20-year-olds and you have people speaking different languages on there. So you have to remind yourself of that if you're trying to outreach and reach, say, a Hispanic demographic, either for extension or as customers. You might want to use hashtags in the Spanish language in addition to your own. But the more, the better. And there's some people who would disagree with me on this. There's been, but I would tell you that what I'm telling you now is the conventional wisdom that collected. There will always be outliers that say, oh no, I don't even use hashtags. And again, if you're a major celebrity, you don't have to really. And then Google Plus, is that still a thing? Yes, it's becoming kind of getting another resurgence because of some of the negative press that's happened about Facebook. But another reason to use Google Plus is if you operate a business and if you have a website and you're trying to drive traffic to your website, you want to be on Google. Even if you just duplicate what you're putting on Facebook, that's okay. The reason being, Google. Google's going to take care of Google. Anytime that your website or your links can be on Google, it's going to raise the elevation, the search engine optimization of your website. It's going to raise the level and the, what's the word I want to use, the visibility of your site. It's going to raise it higher in Google searches. People use Bing too, and they use DuckDuckGo and others, but Google still is the #1 search engine. So it's something to consider. That's just a little piece of strategy. These, not so much. Pinterest is definitely if you're on Pinterest, then you understand what curation is. Pinterest is the curating platform. So you create boards, and you're putting things that you like into categories. It doesn't really need a hashtag because it in of itself is a curation platform. So although people are starting to use it a little bit, your success on Pinterest is not dependent on hashtags. Snapchat, no. I have a Snapchat account. I have to admit I'm not fully well-versed with it. We're not going to talk about it today, and someone mentioned that they want to know more about Snapchat. It really doesn't use hashtags, so it doesn't fall into my purview today. Snapchat uses geo-filters to let people know where they are, and then the content is for the most part ephemeral. It appears and then it goes away. So it really doesn't lend itself well to hashtags. LinkedIn, not necessary, but you can or you can't. It's not going to hurt you or help you either way. And on YouTube, if you're producing the YouTube channels, content on YouTube channels, you don't have to use hashtags in the title. YouTube will allow you to add tags to your video at the end, and that's very important because when people are searching Maryland wines or Maryland creamery or Mid-Atlantic agriculture or how to prune a blueberry bush, the tags that you enter into your YouTube videos will really help you appear above other people who just put a video up with a title and don't add tags. But that's more like meta tagging. That's what we do on websites and with photographs. We tag them so that they can appear in, so that Google bots and Bing bots can search for that and serve it up to you when you're searching for it. So that's a meta tag. So a little bit about hashtags, because I see people using them and I see them using them wrong. So they are not case sensitive. So in the case of today, women in ag, you can type it all, as you see here, in lowercase. But it's for clarity purposes, the capitalizations make sense. So they aren't going to affect, if you capitalize it or don't, that's not going to affect your results that you're going to get. So just bear that in mind. The entire tag must have a space in front and behind the phrase. So if I would say having a great time at Ag Week and I ran that hashtag, as you see, there's I don't know if you could see my cursor, but there's no space there. That is going to negate that hashtag. So the correct way would be what you see below here, is there is a space and there would be a space after so that it's isolated. Two or more words need to be connected. It needs to be one big run-on sentence. So the first example would be wrong. It's just going to be hashtag ag and not week. Week would get dropped off. So having a great time at Ag Week, the second is correct. And if the hashtag is longer and uses numbers, and you see this a lot in conferences, if you go into any kind of a conference for the weekend, 4-H, SciFar, NEA, 4-H, 4A, all those types of conferences, they will usually have an event hashtag. So just remember, it needs to be all together. And people do phrases. So for instance, if you drop down Throwback Thursday, it is not Throwback and Thursday. It has to be all one word. And the other point is, not everybody agrees on them. I've seen TBT, I've seen Throwback, I've seen Throwback Thursday. So you have to kind of gauge, you just have to go with the one that you want to go with. People watch television, they watch them with their smartphones, and they're using Twitter, and they're using Twitter for TV watching. And if you go on and watch the Super Bowl, there'll be Super Bowl, hashtag Super Bowl, hashtag SB2018, or hashtag if it's Super Bowl 50 or 50, they'll say hashtag with the Roman numerals after it. Golden Globes, Oscars, Academy Awards, people will use different combinations. Normally, if you go to the website of the people putting on the production or putting on the event, that would be the hashtag to find. But you will see, for instance, during the President's Summit, there was hashtag Trump, hashtag Korea, hashtag Summit, hashtag was NDPK, I think, was for hashtag Singapore. So people were tracking their conversations and making comments about them, kind of using what made sense to them. And that's fine. Just remember that you have to then, if you're going to curate a conversation, you have to know what to look for. It might not just be one single hashtag. They're also not copyrighted. So if you were, for instance, to watch The Walking Dead on television, and you use the hashtag The Walking Dead, then you'll see Walking Dead. Then you'll see TWD. Well, TWD also might mean something else. It might mean Today's Women Dynamic or something like that. So you can get multiple people using a single hashtag for different reasons. Usually not all at the same time. So it can get a little confusing there. So the other thing is, if you're using hashtags on social media, the social media posts need to be public for the hashtag to be effective. This is particularly important on Facebook. So if let's say that Mid-Atlantic Women in Ag is having a campaign and they're going to give away a free conference attendee, I think it was $75 or something like that. we're going to give away one. So we want you to use this hashtag and we'll do a draw. So you go, oh, and you post a picture and you put it out there. If you have selected friends only on your Facebook page, then the Women in Ag page is not going to be able to see that. So just remember that with social media campaigns where you're trying to have that page, have that entity see your post, they need to be able to see it. And we have a tendency to just want to, and as I do with my personal Facebook page, it's friends only, and only strategically do I make something public. So here's an example. We have great 4-Hers that are doing phenomenal things. I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook. They post pictures of parents in particular, post pictures of their children doing great community service. Like, oh, this is social media gold. They use the hashtags. These are the 3 hashtags used that National 4-H curates. They have people that are going on social media looking for these hashtags. True Leader, 4-H Grows Here, and 4-H. So I see parents putting up wonderful pictures of their children, and we can't share them. We can't share them. National 4-H can't see them. So just remember that. Again, on Instagram, 4-H kids are doing phenomenal things, but their accounts are private. And I don't disagree with parents saying, I don't want my 15, 16-year-old putting stuff out for some weirdo to see or some stranger to see. And Instagram is problematic because you either are public or you aren't. Same with Twitter. You are either public or you aren't. You either have a locked Twitter account or a private Twitter account. If you're going to advocate for agriculture, if you have a business, you do not want to be private. You do not want to be locked down. You want to be opened up. So I've suggested to 4-H clubs that they create a 4-H Instagram account where they can put these pictures up. They can be vetted. They can be screened by the leader, by the adult, or maybe it's the older kids who have photo judging experience. But okay, Mary Jane put pictures up on her Instagram account that nobody can see, but 2 or 3 of them as a leader, you know what, I think they could be uploaded onto our club Instagram account, which is public and which National 4-H can see. Because believe me, they will share this out. They will share your good news. You also want your congressmen, your state reps, your senators, governors, you want them to see what you're doing. We need people to see what we're doing. We need to see that, hey, this is what Extension's doing. Look what 4-H is doing. Look at my life as a farmer. I am a family. I mean, being able to emphasize your role as a producer in the region. If you're locking all that down and you're only preaching to your own controlled choir, that's all well and good if privacy is the most important thing. But then you're not getting the messaging across to people who really need to hear it, because we have a tendency to preach to our own choir. And at least with agriculture, I have found that if we don't say who we are and we don't say what we're doing, then people are going to continue to say, oh, farmers pollute. Farmers are cruel to animals. Farmers don't have the kind of values. I don't want to buy my food from here. I want to grow it myself because I don't trust the person who's making my food. These are the conversations that are happening on social media. So it is important to, again, with Facebook, you can toggle. Say, I think I want to make this post public. And then the next one, I only want my friends and family to see it. So you can have lists with Facebook, but so that's just something that you might want to consider. We could talk about that. So getting started, if you aren't on, for instance, Twitter or Instagram, or you're just starting with it, the first thing you want to do is search your state and search your location. So you'll go on there and use hashtag Maryland, hashtag Virginia, hashtag Wyoming, hashtag Delaware. And what will pop up probably are your influencers in the area. They could be your media, your newspaper. You want to look for your newspapers. You want to look for your elected officials. You want to look for reporters. For instance, reporters are all on Twitter. So I think Twitter is very, very important. If you're not on Twitter, really consider getting on it and using it, because it is very, very powerful. It doesn't filter out like Facebook does. Facebook has algorithms, and you don't always see what, and we'll talk about this in the next agriculture webinar, I think, which is in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about boosting on Facebook. But Facebook edits out based on your behavior. Twitter does not. So if you're following 100 people, you're going to see what those 100 people are saying. But because of that, it's very, very fast. So, but you do want to go on. In our state, Delaware, we have what's called #NetDE. That's the Delaware Network. So that is the catch-all. If you are doing anything in the state of Delaware, we recommend you use #NetDE, because reporters are curating that. Your elected officials are curating that. They're searching for that, and they're seeing what's going on in their state. Obviously, Delaware, if you didn't have #Delaware and just search Delaware, you could get Delaware grapes, which is a variety of Delaware, grapes not necessarily grown in Delaware. You could get Delaware County, Ohio. So by putting the hashtag in front of Delaware, you're isolating it to only Delaware. Delaproud is one that was a hashtag that was invented by a news journal, our paper of record, an editor there, and he would shout out people in Delaware who were really doing good things, and he used the hashtag Delaproud. Now, he invented it, he started it, took a little while to catch on, but he was well read and he had a good circulation, so that sort of caught on. So anytime anything happens that I'm proud of, that people in Extension have done, I might use that. DE365 is another one, 365 days a year of Delaware. So it's just like a catch-all. It's just one thing where you could go on. So you need to look at these yourself. They're somewhat different on Instagram. For instance, the NetDE is very popular on Twitter, but it's IG Delaware, or even Delagram is another one. So they probably have Maryland Gram, Virginia Gram. I don't know what they are. That's why you need to kind of go on and look at some of the influencers on those accounts and see what they're using, and then try to adopt them. Our state, the Delaware government, the official page, they started a campaign called This is Delaware, and they're showcasing photographs that people take of Delaware. So I went back in, I took tons of pictures that happened in Delaware. So I've gone back into my Instagram account, which you can do because you can edit that, unlike Twitter. So I've gone in and pulled pictures that were 2 or 3 years old and added that in. And sure enough, it got picked up and it got shared. So you just have to kind of do your own little investigative work to see what people are using and what makes sense to you. And again, on Twitter or Instagram, search your paper of records, search your elected officials. You can also search for your interests. So if you're a soybean grower, just go up to the search bar in Twitter and search soybeans. You're going to see everything that has to do with soybeans. Corn, agriculture, advocate, which is a term for agriculture and advocation. Note the 4-H doesn't have a dash, a hyphen on the internet with HTML is a separator. So even though the dash is part of the emblem, on the web it's not. So the 4-H hashtag does not have the H. Healthy living, family farm, rural made is another one that the USDA is introducing. And these, if you're introducing one, it takes a while for them to catch on. And the more famous people or the more influential people who use these hashtags, then they become habitual. So Throwback Thursday, Wordless Wednesday, you've all probably heard of Meatless Monday. We have one in Delaware called Snow DE, and I would imagine there would be one for Snow MD or Snow VA or Snow PA or Snow NJ. But that's an example of a hashtag that gets curated. So here the news journal would pull. So this is an example of an, and you can do this. There's many kinds of software, the platforms that will curate for you. So, and what's nice is some of them are automatic so that everybody who's using them will come up, will show up, but maybe you don't want that. Maybe someone's going to say something negative about your business. So you can curate them. You can go in and say, I want to drag this one in. You simply drag them in or you take them off. But this is one that the News Journal used to curate SNOW.DE. And it's kind of nice because there was me. I went on and filmed my backyard and used the hashtag SNOW.DE, and sure enough, boom, I'm on there. So this could be your business. There's 135, almost 140 followers on Facebook alone because they share this out to Facebook. And I think between their paper and their online presence, they're in the 250 range, 250,000. What a great way to be noticed, to be visible, and people look at these. So it's a really good way to get exposure and to be a part of a conversation. And if you're not using the hashtag, you're not going to be part of the conversation. So if I had just gone on there and, oh, look at my backyard, look how much snow I got, that would be fine. My friends and my followers will see this, but people go, oh, they see this and they go, who's she? And they might check, they might not, but it's exposure. And again, for agriculture and for extension, that's what we're shooting for. So a little bit more about curating content. You want to use hashtags to search for conversations and then join them. I'm not sure how many people ever participate in AgChat. I'm a volunteer moderator, so every once in a while I'm the moderator for that. It's a weekly, hour-long chat. People from all over the country and Canada participate. It has an exposure, maybe 35,000 to 100,000 people will see it. Because again, I'm on Twitter, I'm one person, but I have 3,000 followers. So if I start doing my ag chats, potentially my 3,000 followers are seeing that. So that's where the exponential growth comes. So there's conversations or they call them Twitter chats, Twitter town halls. They have them out there on every topic imaginable. You have to, if you're into quilting, you can probably find a quilter chat, a journalism chat. I also belong to the Delaware Press Association, and we are trying to launch a DPA chat. So every month there'll be a talk. We invite the public in to talk about media and communications and journalism. If you have a creamy, there could be an ice cream chat or a dairy chat or a winery chat, beer chat, you name it. There are topics out there. You also, even if it's not an organized chat, just talking about what you do. This is where you can go, oh, these people are having a conversation about GMOs. Now, I don't think you should be hostile, but there are people out there who have the wrong knowledge about certain things. And if you're into organics, that's great. Extension loves organics. We help teach that. We help teach people about plant-based diets. But we also teach and support traditional agriculture. So it's a way of going in and saying, I want to talk about poultry. I want to see what's being said about pork and swine. You can go on and search for that, and you can see who's talking about that topic. And then you can make a connection with that person and say, oh, I thought what you said was very interesting. Did you ever think about this? Or I see you said something about the farmers pollute the Chesapeake Bay. Do you know what we do? And so it's an opportunity. Again, it should be a polite conversation. People are entitled to their own opinions. But it's a way for you to go out there and know what people are talking about, where it's of interest to you. You can also become a thought leader through hashtags. And what is that? That is, if you are an orchard, say I have Walford's Orchards, and my big thing are apples, then I can go on there and I can search for apples. but I can also search for apple recipes, apple art, apple clothing, apple objects of art. So I can look for those things and share them. Here's the nutritional value of this. Here's the difference between this apple. What apple's right for baking? What apple's right for salads or cooking? So you can go and search for these topics and then become a curator of that topic. So that, what is your expertise? What is it that you are excited about? You can use hashtags to identify that. So it isn't always just about you saying, oh, our apples are on sale, or oh, our apples are the best, or our apples are X number of dollars a bushel. You want it, you can use social media for that, and people do and should, but you also will gain better social media experience if also you curate other conversations about apples, and the way to find them is through hashtags.
Excuse me, Michelle.
Yeah.
We have a question.
Yeah.
HE is asking, what day of the week is Ag Chat?
Oh, Ag Chat is Tuesdays, 8 Central, and it used to go 8 to 10. It's been pared down because once a week, 2 hours once a week was a little bit much for us as moderators. So now it is Tuesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern. So it'd be 7 o'clock Central, and I guess that would make it 6 o'clock Pacific. And they usually will introduce a topic. So it might be ag safety, it might be ag heritage. They'll pick a topic, and then they'll ask roughly about 13 questions. But there's a lot of agricultural. One is called, I'll have to get you the name of it. It's called F&N Happy Hour, Food and Nutrition Happy Hour, I think it's what it's called. But it's all about there's one called Book Club, Ag Book Club. So it's people talking about books they've read and the topic of that book, and people have conversations about it. So, but that's Ag Chat is Tuesday nights. Use hashtags to identify a special event. So, and you probably have all seen this if you've known anybody recently who's gotten married. The couple will usually have their own hashtag so that their wedding guests will take pictures and use that hashtag. Why? So they can curate it. So this is all about curation, about letting other people do some of the work for you and taking the very best of those and using it to help establish your brand or help celebrate your event. So it's very, very important to establishing a brand identity. So you can find out what are your customers saying about you, and who are the people that you should be talking to about this. And you can track and you can publicize that. So you can take somebody who's said, oh, this is the best ice cream I've ever had on the Delmarva Peninsula. Well, I would want to share that immediately on my page if I had a customer say that. So you want your customers or your clients to use a hashtag. So if you're in an extension, how would that work? We have a catch-all extension, and we're not using it as well as we should, but we're going to do another push. It's called UDEXT. So it's nice and short, stands for University of Delaware Extension. We're going to start putting that on the bottom of all of our brochures and flyers. People are coming to a workshop, and maybe you have some information for them or a little booklet that they're looking at. While they're there, while they're sitting there attending a Master Gardener workshop, why not have them take a picture and say, oh, I'm here and I just learned how to make a hypertufa container. Well, you know, that just gets lost. But if they use a hashtag, if you've suggested a hashtag for them, then you can curate that and you can use that. So you can give it to your clientele. And you can also, and I'll show you another example. I think I skipped ahead. Let me go back. Here's an example. So let's say I had a winery. I know Doris has a winery. I would create a label like this, 10 to a sheet, print them out, cut them up, and every time I had a sale, I'd put one of these in the bag. And what am I asking this person to do? I'm asking them to use Walford's Winery on your social media and show us how you paired your purchase. as we all know, people on Instagram love to take pictures of food. How did you use that wine? We're curious, you know, that Chardonnay, did you have salmon with it? Did you have chicken? Did you show us? So you want, Dogfish Head Brewery does this. People will, you know, they're at the beach and they take a picture of their can of beer and they put it on Instagram. Well, Dogfish will eat that up. So you want people to use your brand. And so this is one way of establishing it. You can offer an incentive, and maybe it's just, hey, we're going to draw one social media account per week and give them a special gift or a special, but people get a big kick out of it. If, I don't know if you've ever been retweeted or somebody's famous, you've put something out there and somebody else used it. It makes you feel good. It makes you want to maybe come back again. It lets the customer know, hey, I valued what you had to say. So, and you're letting your customers do good work. Now, obviously, if they say, oh, this wine was terrible, then you're not going to curate that. You can't stop them from using it, but you're not going to curate it. You're not going to reshare it. You just kind of like, okay, go to the next one. But that's how you want to do something like that. So let me go back here. So one example, and I couldn't find a picture, and I had seen it earlier, but I thought Dogfish Head did it, but I can't find it. So in other words, if you've got a pretty good business and people are using your hashtag, you could print out that and put it on a bulletin board. So when they come into your place of business, oh, there's my picture. Look, honey, there's my picture over there on the right. So people get excited about that. You can also do it online. The News Journal was one. So what you see here are some digital curation sites. Tagboard is one. So you enter in the tag, and all of a sudden, everything will drop in that you're using. And then you have to actually, everything will drop in, so you don't want that to be live, but you can embed it into your website, and you can then go in and delete something that maybe you don't want or something that was inappropriate. But these are some curation sites that you might want to consider using. You can send them out. If, for instance, Circle Media, this is Sports Media Watch, but if I did an article and I used a hashtag and they used my post, I would get a little notification. Oh, somebody over at Sports Media Watch used your social media. So what are you going to do? I'm going to go over there and see what they used. I'm pretty excited about that. So most of these are free, and they take on all different kinds of looks. The one that I used to like was called Storify, but they've done away with it, unfortunately. And that's one that the University of Delaware used. The University of Delaware uses UD Spring, UD Autumn, UD Summer. They do one called UD Intern. So now that college is out, all these interns are out doing summer learning projects and summer work and summer research. They're collecting all the social media posts of their students, and they present them to the public. Look at what our students are doing this summer. Isn't this great? And then you can go in and pick and choose which ones you want to feature. Rebel Mouse is another one. So there's a lot of them. You could just Google curation accounts, and you can embed them into your website, so it actually becomes part of your website, which is what the News Journal did. This is another example. Oh, sorry, I want to go back. This is a writer friend of mine, and she uses paper.ly, which is it presents the curation style as more like a newsroom, which makes sense because she's a writer. But she's a writer and a publisher. And she asks people, if you look over here to the right, it says if you use the hashtag WriteSure, you'll have a better chance of your work being featured in her curation site, which she titles Writing is a Sure Thing. So she's based in Rehoboth Beach. But she also curates things like writing, editing, journalism, writing tips. She does her own searching. She pulls content, and usually you just drag it right in, and you can drag it into the left column, the middle column. There's sections to this, so it works just like a website. But she's not doing the work. She's letting other people do it. She's just pulling it in. But it gives you, and this is a weekly newsletter that she sends out. So this could be a weekly newsletter on wine. It could be a weekly newsletter about community service or 4-H or raising sheep, or all about sheep and health issues. And she has categories that go across the top. So there are just some amazing ways of presenting curated content that is out there. And as a result of this, why should I, as a writer, go out and try and dig all this stuff up myself when she's doing it for me? So it gives me an incentive to come back to here, because I can see that she's really giving me the information I want to know. So you could do it for all of you who are in Extension. This is something you could do in your own program area. But all of this rests on using a hashtag. So with Facebook, normally you see hashtags when people are sharing from Instagram or Twitter. And I've already talked about weddings. I will say, please don't do this as a matter of routine. Facebook is different than Twitter. Twitter is different than Facebook and Instagram is different than the other two. They are different. They should be used differently. I took a social media certification course through the university, and the #1 rule was don't auto-post. Don't auto-post. If you do, do it very sparingly. I will occasionally share something from Instagram to my Facebook page. My reason for it is because I want people to know I have an Instagram account. But I don't do it on a regular basis because people will drop you. Like if you're saying the exact same thing across all 3 platforms at the exact same time, then there's no reason to follow you on the other 2. They're just going to follow you on one. And remember too, the audiences for these are different. And not everybody is, particularly if you're on a page, you may have 1,000 followers, but you're lucky if 30 people are seeing your post. That gets into a whole other webinar we can do on the Facebook algorithms, but it's not a sure thing. Facebook looks at your behavior. It decides, well, you haven't interacted with this post, so we're not going to show you any more from this organization, even though I like that. So Doris Benke had a Facebook page. She posts on it, and I like the page. But if I haven't interacted with that page, Facebook will stop showing me content. Now, I can hop over to her page and see it. So this is why Facebook is a little tricky. I'm kind of going off topic here. But unless public, your content can only be curated by the people that you're friends with. You use hashtags on Facebook sparingly, and it's mostly, for example, like for something like with 4-H. If there is a campaign and you know somebody is curating that campaign and you want to be included in that conversation, then you would use a hashtag. But it's not going to help you or hurt you to use a hashtag. Most people find them annoying on Facebook, but we're seeing more of them. So that's that. Twitter, it's essential. So hashtags are essential. The platform for me, for anything to do with agriculture, advocating for agriculture, anything, telling an extension story, this is where our grantors are, the people who give us money. This is where the USDA is, where Bayer, Monsanto, all of the industry leaders are on Twitter. All of your legislators, governors, elected officials, and all of your reporters are on Twitter. So you need to be there. If you're not on there, you need to really be on it. And your platform should be unprotected tweets, which means it can be shared and it can be seen by the public. And if you want to have a private account, that's fine. But for anything to do with agriculture, and the reason I think we're all here today is to promote what we're doing, you definitely want to have a public account. 1 to 3 hashtags, but at least 1. And there's different ways of doing them. You can add them all in, work them into the sentence, or you can plop them all at the end. And there's a strategy with Twitter. The one thing with Twitter, if you look at the Washington Post, or if you've got something important to say, you have an event coming up and you want to promote it, you need to do it more than once because, again, Twitter is very, very fast. It doesn't edit out your tweets. So if I post something at 9 o'clock in the morning, and my friend Sydney here, who just came in, my intern, she hops on to Twitter at noon, my post's long gone. So you need to stagger Twitter and don't feel shy about repeating the same thing a couple of times. Quoted tweets are more powerful than regular retweets. And for those of you on Twitter, does anybody know why? And I can't see the chat. So if you are on Twitter, you can heart a tweet, you can like it, heart it. You can retweet it, which is simply sharing it automatically.
If anyone knows why, do put it in the chat and I'll let Michelle know what you say.
Yeah. And we'll come back to that. Just remind me. I'll just tell you why. The reason why it's important is so if Niece was going to, she posted something about urban gardens, and I liked it, and I could just retweet it on UD Extension. That's fine. That will help her out. But if we were to quote it, which allows me to put my take on it, and maybe Niece didn't, maybe she didn't hashtag it urban gardens, so I could help her out by adding that hashtag urban gardens in. So you can add your own spin, your own interpretation. Again, it's helping you become a thought leader. So retweeting something with your own spin to it is more powerful, and it allows you to add a couple, maybe another layer or two of a hashtag that maybe the original poster didn't use. If you saw a 4-H post and they went hashtag 4-H, and I went, oh no, well that's not going to, I want to make sure National 4-H sees it, so I'm going to retweet it. I'm going to put, so great to see this hashtag 4-H post. What a great success story. Just something simple. But by adding the correct hashtag, I've helped that content get seen by the people who need to see it. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to show you some examples. So here's some here. Now this one over on the left is was our former extension pathologist. He's since moved on to Illinois, but he's retweeting Phytophthora. I mean, he actually made that a hashtag. Now his audience and his followers were very, very select, very scientific fellow pathologists. But he puts it right in, Phytophthora inoculum looking so good, I can smell the results. No, that's, and then he tagged Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association of Delaware, and he tagged Catherine Everts, which is University of Maryland plant pathologist. So he's tapping Catherine on the shoulder and Fruit and Vegetable Association on the shoulder and saying, hey, I think you need to see this. That's an example of using a tag and also a hashtag. If you notice right below that, the Delaware Department of Agriculture is talking about the emerald ash borer that was found in North Carolina, Newcastle County, excuse me. So wow, you know, that was a big deal because we hadn't seen it yet in our state. But then it had a hashtag, hashtag EAB. So that is the hashtag for emerald ash borer. So the normal person wouldn't know that. So that's why they also spell it out up at the top. But all the people in the ag industry who are following emerald ash borer and its unfortunate progress in the region is searching for that EAB hashtag. Now here's me. So this is an example of a post that I did, and I'm using the hashtags. Now I broke the rule here. I've used more than 3, but I've added it on. So this, and the reason I did it is because we have a brand new plant entomologist, a new extension entomologist named David Owen. And he's brand new to Twitter. Please follow him. He only has about 59 followers so far. I mean, he's brand spanking new. And he hasn't really learned yet about what hashtags are. So I saw that he posted it. So he's trying, he's putting the picture up. So I took it and I retweeted it, adding the hashtags I thought people might want to see. So it would be the watermelon growers, the Delmarva region, Also, he's working with an intern, so I want University of Delaware to see that, so I use UD intern, UD summer, and I tagged the location where he took that picture. So that's an example of quoting a tweet to kind of help it along a little bit. Here is AgChat. This AgChat has 73,000 followers, so it's a very big organization, and so this is an example of just wanting to show you how the AgChat works. They use that hashtag. People answer a question, they forget to use the hashtag. Guess what? It doesn't get included. It doesn't get counted in the impact later on. So we have to constantly, as moderators, don't forget everyone, please use the hashtag AgChat. So here's an example of where they ask a question and then people come on and answer the question. So question 4, here's Chris down here saying answer 3, unable to pick up all 3. He goes on to answer whatever the question was, and he can barely see here, I cut it off, but it says AgChat at the bottom. So as long as that hashtag is included in everybody's response, then the conversation can be collected, it can be curated. Here's another girl here, and she's answering a question. She's only been in blah, 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 and when she's finished, she finishes it off with hashtag AgChat. So that's how an ag conversation works, an organized AgChat.
Excuse me, Michelle, I just wanted to jump in and say that as we're getting towards the end of our time, if anyone has any questions they've been holding on to, please do put them in the chat box.
And I'm talking to, you all have a handout for this, so thank you for letting me know. I'm running out of time here. These are examples of Delaware 4-H posting a story on Diamond Clover Awards. I used the hashtag. I also tagged the National 4-H. As a result, guess what? National 4-H shared it out to their 80,000 people. So this is an example. When you use the right hashtag, it will be curated. And then I thanked the person. I said, I'm hearing somebody typing. I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry, that's me.
That's okay. Then, you know, we go back and make sure we thank them. Hey, thanks for sharing that. If you have a WordPress blog, this is a problem. If you are sharing automatically, you can set up your WordPress blog to automatically publicize onto your social media accounts. And that's great, but look what happens. They don't put in hashtags. So be wary of that if you are sharing things out automatically. You want to be able to go in. I would have wanted to have gone in there and edited that out and taken out the H and put in the 4-H in there. So that's an example of, and you can look at these later as we wrap up. Instagram, very, very, very hashtag driven. I'm just going to get right to it. Diverse, I've already talked about that. Here's some examples. You have a picture here of some harvesting going on, and you have the ability to add a lot of text. So this girl kind of wrote a whole narrative, and at the end put in a lot of hashtags. So this is what you want to do. People on Instagram are curators. Here's another example: Caterpillar, macro photography, nature photography, Canon. She's promoting her camera. Here's another Ag Daily one by Great Heartseed. So she's talking about, they put in a quote. What a lot of people do with Instagram is you can add it to the end of the post. A new trend is to just make the post nice and clean. So this is the original post right here. They added in a comment, they added in all of the hashtags that they think would be applicable to this photograph. So there's either way is fine. Some people will put the hashtags in the middle of the text. Some people put it at the end. But with Instagram, you want to put a whole bunch of them. So this is a photo. What would you use? And if we have a little bit of time left, type in what would be the hashtags you would use for this photo. Help me out. Sunflower, obviously. What else? The more the better, because people are going in and curating things that are yellow. They are curating August.
We've got hashtag monarch on sunflower.
Monarch. Hashtag sunflower.
Pollinators.
Pollinators, perfect. You would want all of them. You want to add these. This is how people are going to find you. Otherwise, they won't find you. You're lost. You're lost in Instagram.
Butterfly biodiversity.
Also, mariposa, because that's Spanish for butterfly. Summer, August. So that was a picture I took. Here's some. I took others. I posted on Instagram, and here's what I used. Summer, sunflower, yellow, July. Telegram, because it was shot in Delaware. Monarch, butterfly. We're not in Kansas. And here's one where I put in a space, or I guess that apostrophe broke it. So that actually got broke. But we're not in Kansas anymore. That was sort of a joke hashtag. I wanted my university to see this because this was grown on a university plot. So I wanted them to see it. So these are examples that you cannot overdo. And if you look at Nat Geo and NASA and some professional photographers, they really heavy load their hashtags. And it's going to help you because people do curate them. The other thing, if you're on Instagram and you share to your Twitter, this is what happens. So which of these two would you prefer to see? This is me on Twitter uploading this picture of ducklings. And this is the same picture when I shared it from Instagram to Twitter. It's just a link. What would you rather? I'd rather see the picture. So this is the danger with auto-posting. And if you auto-post using TweetDeck or Hootsuite, understand that I think that they will populate, the picture will populate. Facebook will penalize the daylights out of you using a third-party software like TweetDeck and Hootsuite. You're better off taking the time. Yes, it's a time saver, but you're better off going onto Facebook and actually uploading it directly. It's one of the worst things you can do is to just post it once and spatter it all over your social media accounts. You think you're saving yourself time, but you're hurting your impact. And then this is an example of using TweetReach. We introduced our very first DPA chat. We had 9 participants, but they were all pretty big players because we actually reached 20,000 accounts. So this is by having that hashtag, I can go on to TweetReach. This is a free service. You type in the chat, and it's going to give you metrics immediately. This is how far your tweet went. Twitter also gives you metrics on your tweets as well. So here's just some resources, and you have a PDF of this. So just some examples. This is a list of agricultural hashtags. And in summary, try to find your conversations, curate, be consistent. And last but not least, here's my contact information. And if anybody wants to contact me, would like to have a consultation, maybe I have Zoom. It's very similar to WebEx. We could do a live one-on-one. I'm more than happy to help you out, give you some suggestions. Hey, am I doing this right? Am I not doing that right? Be glad to help you out. And I really cut it close. So you have on the webinar, you have, I think, up at the top.
Yes, up at the top of the screen should be Holy Hashtags, and I'm hoping the participants might be able to download it from there. If you can't, the slides will be on the Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture website in the next couple of weeks, and I've put the link to that in the chat. Oh, I think I might have accidentally muted you. I'm sorry, Michelle. I tried to unmute myself, and I muted you.
That's okay. Are there any questions? I kind of went off on a couple tangent topics, but I thought it was important. We are going to have our next Wednesday webinar is going to be on the 27th of this month, and it's going to be on Facebook and how to boost on Facebook and why you should, and the different kinds of ways you could do it. If you can't download the slides, email me. I'll put my email in here again, and I'll send it to you. Am I sharing my screen? I can't type in here.
Hmm.
Oh, there we go.
It looks like the slides are not showing up for some of the participants. I'm sorry about that. So they will be on the website soon, and the website is in the chat pod. And if you email Michelle, she will also send them to you.
Yeah, and they're full page slides, so you can see everything. I kind of rushed it at the end because I didn't realize we were going. Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
Fun.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
And I'm glad to stay on if there are any questions.